you're on the first. Because you're on the department head.
Not a whole lot to report. I don't know what weather we've been having. Just to make you aware on February 1st, next Wednesday night, I'm having a department meeting, my staff. Department meeting, we have Brian Garrity. Brian is, he's gonna come in and speak before we have our meeting. We're gonna hold it here because I'm hoping that we have a little bit of a turnout. Brian Garrity is from Savita Health. They provide services to rural communities who may be in need of assistance with drug addiction, overdose issues. They're reaching out. They've got a state grant to expand their program. They're primarily out of the Penobscot County area. And they work, main office is out of Brewer, and they work northern Penobscot, southern Aroostook. And they're expanding with the state grant, they're expanding their services out to rural communities in Kennebec and Somerset. He spoke at the District 4 Chiefs meeting last Thursday, listened to his presentation, and I invited him down to speak to my guys on how his organization can assist us in dealing with the addiction problem and overdose deaths that are occurring in central and rural Maine. Because they don't have the outreach in the rural areas like the big cities do. So I'm bringing this up just to let everybody know that it is an open meeting for anybody who wishes to attend. I've invited the fire chief, the rescue chief in Winthrop. I sent a message to the town office. Anybody who's wishing to come to listen to his presentation, he's willing to go door to door for people who are affected by this. And talk and try to help them out. What the organization does is it brings the resources to the individual. And it's not just one resource, it's bringing that PCP together with crisis and counseling, with human services, with professionals from Kennebec Valley Mental Health, Kennebec Health Trucks over in Winthrop is signed on to their program as well. So they're not just a single facet thing, it's a multifaceted approach to dealing with the individual's issues and trying to get them through the addiction crisis and get them back on the healthy road. So that's going to be next Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, and I invite anybody here who wants to come and attend and listen to his presentation because he has a history. He's a recovered addict. He's been clean for going on 3 years now. He's been working for this organization too. He's a district manager for them now. He oversees a team of first responders who actually go out and do the tasks that need to be done, meeting with people and trying to help them. And that's what this is all about, just trying to get some help out there. People who may need it, who don't know how to access that type of help, but don't even realize that it's out there. But this is kind of like an educational process to us first responders on the resources that his team brings to us to help us do our job. So that's what the beginning of the meeting is going to be about, and I hope from you can attend.
Can you give, Chief, can you give us an idea of the number of times that you and your folks have had touch points with folks in crisis around addiction?
I can't give you a number, but I can tell you that it's been a lot. We reach out to these people every day. We deal with them every day. They're in crisis. Some know they're in crisis, some don't care. Some want help, they just don't know where to get it. So I think this will be a good resource for the officers to understand that this is a resource for them to reach out and put these people in contact with this team to help them out through the crisis.
Say it's Avita Health or
Yeah, let me,
Spell that.
it's Savita,
Savita.
Savida, Savita Health. And his name is Brian Garrity. And that's basically all I have for you guys tonight. Just wanted to update you on that. So we'll get the word out. So maybe we have a little bit of a turnout. We will have some sort of beverages and snacks.
It's like it's all like education.
And hecklers.
I was scheduled to be in trial all next week with a hangover case from Winthrop, and I just got notification today that subject fled out, so I won't be gone all week long like I initially thought, so I'll be around. You see my smiling face.
So you can go to the grocery store.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Oh. Yeah, yeah.
Apologize, I just coming from a crash scene, so I don't, not prepared, don't have anything.
Oh, was that the one on Sanborn Road that I drove by?
How did the lady make out?
It was a gentleman.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, he had a laceration to his face, very fortunate, went down the embankment right by the brook, missed the guardrail, sideways up against a tree. We had to extricate him. A ladder to get him out of the vehicle, but he'll be okay. Another 5 feet, he would have been upside down in the brook and could have been a fatality. Second crash on Sanborn Road, you know, this is becoming a real busy artery, you know, connector. I almost feel like it's people are getting on the edge of the road where there's been washouts and got a little bit of a lip. And they're tired of catching that and getting sloshed on the sides and spinning off right in that same area. So I know Dan's busy tonight, so you know, I'll talk to him later. Something they can do. It looked like they had scraped it recently. It's just difficult to keep up with. I'll start the evening steady with fire calls, mostly car accidents lately. This afternoon, getting ready for a heavy wet snow tonight. Hoping for no outages or trees coming down, but we're prepared if we need to. As you know, last 2 weeks ago, we had that bad crash with Jessica. She was on her way to a business meeting here in town, lost control of her Jeep. We had to extricate her from the vehicle. Kind of sucks when it's one of your own that you respond to, but we're all quick, professional, got her out. Our surgeon said probably saved her life, you know, because we got her out so quickly and got her the treatment that she needed. She's back home resting. It's got a benefit dinner this Saturday for her, so love to have you guys come out and have dinner. It's gonna be at the Memorial School, 4:30 to 6:30. $10 a head. We'll have a silent auction with some additional gifts that people have donated, so bring some extra cash if you're interested in that. We'll probably try to get another Facebook blast the next day or so, just to remind everybody about the dinner. Spaghetti and meatballs, the staff of the school was putting it on for us. Auxiliaries paid for it. We're expecting a couple hundred people at least, so we got food for 300. After that, we just close the doors and we'll accept donations. Yeah,
Can I ask you a question? Actually, I wrote this note for you.
sure.
So we have an RSU2 school board basket to donate for the raffle or something. Is that, how do I get it to you? Well, I have it.
You know where the station is.
Yeah, it's timing.
Well, if you remember the code, I can give it to you before we leave.
I have it written down.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Just drop it off on the table at the meeting room.
Okay, so I can do that Friday night.
You can do that Friday. If you can text me, message me ahead of time, I'll get it to Cindy, because Cindy Rennie's compiling the list of gifts. She's doing up sheets ahead of time,
Yeah,
what the gift is, who it's donated from, and what the approximate dollar value is, so that can be posted. So when people go and bid the auctions, silent auctions, just good to have kind of a value of gift.
okay.
Chris,
Well, I don't know,
That's
because we just have
right.
an early morning because Braille is a wrestling.
Be able to get to it through the packet as well.
Okay.
He's
So-
saying he's waiting to be admitted.
I don't see him up there unless Justin, do you see on your end that Joe's in the waiting room? I don't,
There shouldn't be a waiting room on this thing. It's open.
yeah, so.
You can just join at will. So if he's on the right link, he'll just join right in.
So if he's seeing a waiting room message, then he's not on the right link.
That would be my assumption.
The
He's
other
in
one.
Monmouth, New Jersey right now.
Yeah.
And there is one, Jersey.
Yes,
Yeah. Sure is.
Do you know if he's at home or if I can email him the link, Kent, to his work address? I think he might have that on his phone. I can send it directly to him if that's helpful.
All right, why don't you go ahead and do that and I'll text him to look
Okay,
for it.
tell him I'm going to email his work address. I assume he can get that at home, or if he's at the office, I'm not sure where he is, but I'll try that right now.
I also went to Monmouth College, which is there. Jessica put pictures on Facebook, which are. She is so lucky.
Totally. Yeah, I don't want to get into the extent of her injuries, but that was at her own will that she wanted to share with the world that
Yeah.
she's a tough cookie and this is what she went through and it's amazing. I mean, I could just talk to you for hours about the incident and the rescue call, and it was just amazing. Everything just click, 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 and got her out of there, and then she ended up going from Central Maine to Maine Med because of the head. There, I said it, head trauma. But yeah, very fortunate. But now it's wait and see, you know, how quick she can bounce. So, she's home with the kids and everybody's happy. 9 days in the hospital, eating hospital food.
That's why I have people bring you food from Amato's. I spent 2 weeks.
We did a meal plan for the fire department. Two days a week, people are doing. Bring it to her.
Yeah.
That helps. Tomorrow night, we'll be doing chimney fire training at our station if we have heat. So currently, our furnace broke down. Typical, you know, big storm comes in, furnace breaks down. So hopefully it's just a quick fix, just the error code number 6 says something about the igniter. I don't know. We got the gust of fuel on their way. They're detected, troubleshoot it. Hopefully it's a minor repair. That's all I got to update you.
That heating system fairly new?
No,
It's not.
no. It's gotta be close to 10 years old now.
Maybe more.
What about the siren? I miss it.
Yeah, I
So
know.
the siren's
I
offline.
miss it.
Yeah. You missed it, but Aisha and her neighbors don't miss it.
It's just strange not to hear it.
It is
after
really strange.
Jeopardy.
It's not like it's dying so
So,
bad and I.
Kind of a funny story or ironic if you want to look at it this way. We almost brought the station down the other night. We were trying to troubleshoot it and manually trying to turn on the siren. And then we started seeing smoke coming from the junction panel where the fuses are. And we found a couple of loose connections. We think maybe the motor might be fried. So we've got an electrician and a gentleman with a bucket truck that's gonna kind of troubleshoot it for us. And for right now, it's just offline.
I'll support a fundraiser and make sure it gets fixed if the motor needs repair.
Oh, the kids know when to go to bed.
That harm. I mean,
It
little.
used to be at 6, so
Really?
that was a long time ago
Long
though.
time ago.
I miss it. It was really.
Yeah.
Crucial.
That and the fucking Masonic Hall.
Right. Any other questions on the fire department? Okay, thank you.
We'll see you Saturday.
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 The spaghetti.
Oh, yes.
Jessica's
I will be there. Jessica will be there.
Justin, do you have something?
Just that email that you received about the RSU board member vacating. We'll have to, if you have anybody, you have the authority to appoint an interim person. So at your next meeting, you should be thinking about that. So there isn't a vacancy on their board as So if you can find somebody, if you know of anybody who might be willing to serve, at least in an interim capacity, just keep that on your minds.
Who's got?
Jonathan, you didn't read the email? Jonathan sent
That's why
an
I'm
email
here.
last
So when we
night.
get to public comment, that's why I'm here.
Well, while we're on the topic, do we want to let the chair of the school board have the floor for a moment?
Sure. Yes, Dave.
You want me to give a report?
Oh, yeah. All right, we'll come back to the school board stuff.
Yeah, but I have a question for Justin on the school board stuff. Since, papers will be, going out, they would have to take out papers in and have them back in for April if they wanted to run and be seated for the remainder of the term, correct?
That's correct. At the next election, you would want to hold an election for that position, but
Yeah.
between now and then, you can appoint somebody if you choose.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
And is there, what do you recommend as a process for that, Justin?
I'm not sure if you have handled this before. There
Yeah.
isn't really a prescribed process. The statute just says that the municipal officers can appoint an interim person until the next election. So usually there's not a horde of people knocking down the door to run for these positions. So if you can find somebody and you can encourage somebody or talk to your neighbors and try to, if anybody's interested, certainly let me know and I can pass those names on to you. And if you want to, if we do have multiple people, you can always interview them if that's something that you're interested in.
We did
Is he
that
talking
once.
about the
We got-
appointment or is he talking about?
Appointment, the appointment.
election?
The appointment.
Just the appointment.
Had a few people.
So I have some
wanted to be on
additional
the board
information that I
and
need to share.
interview. Dave, you want to be next?
Yeah. I don't have much, but
Sorry.
I just wanted to let you know that working about 10 hours, 5 hours a week, 10 hours a pay period. Could be a lot more if I wanted to leave it in the way I left it 2 years ago, but we're managing. I wanted to give you a report tonight, however, December's information never got inputted. After I went to click on it to print it out for you guys for a report from the codes officer, it wasn't in there, so next time I'm in, I'll have to input it, and then I can give you a report maybe next month for 2 months. There isn't much going on. We finding more and more paperwork hidden under places that needs to be acted upon, so to speak, and filed. Slowly but surely, I'll get there. If you have any problems, just give me a call.
Thank you.
Writing violations already, and I didn't really want to write violations, but somebody called me, so I went out. Somebody started doing work without a permit. They didn't see an orange card in the window and called. It's mine.
Yeah,
Dave,
moms and dads. I mean,
Dave, quick question.
Yes.
Did we get the money to the state that we owed them? We figured that one out?
Working on it. We found 2 of the 7.
Okay.
So we're getting.
What do we do?
State plumbing information never got to the state. Or very little got to the state. So finally, the state says, well, we got this
Where's the
permit, but what happened to the 7 or 8 before it? Because they go by number. So they were missing the fee and the process, the plumbing permit. So we have to try to find them. One of the first things that I did 17 years ago was to link the building permit with the plumbing permit. Put it together, staple it, so it always stayed together. Well, the office now, they're here and sometimes they never get back together again, so it's very hard to keep track of.
Ernie's still doing that, right?
Ernie's doing it, but once it got paid, the town copy went somewhere. And now we're finding that the town copy and the state copy were put together and put in a drawer or put in a file cabinet and never got to the state. So as we find them, Ernie's compiling them and we'll get them there.
Justin, before we go too far away from the town manager part, can I ask a question of the town manager?
Yes.
Okay, where are we with the solar RFP?
So we extended it out, another month. And I still have inquiries coming in from various companies. So we're just waiting
Okay.
for that date. I can find it for you real quick. I can't remember exactly the date, but we extended it out another month per some of the suggestions from some of the vendors not knowing about the tax credit situation.
Okay, no, that's fine. Then I don't need the date. We'll get there when we get there. That's
Yep.
gonna be fine.
Select board reports.
I got calls about the roads again from this last storm. They were pretty bad again. And I guess it's just a learning curve and I hate to keep kicking a dead horse, but when people call me, they expect me to report on it, so. I know he's working through it and trying to get it figured out. Yes. An ongoing thing for sure.
They're down a big truck. You know that.
No, well, I don't know. People ask me and I'm like, I don't know what's going on because I haven't seen it for a while, so I don't know what's going on.
Tom's the oldest truck, which was supposed to be replaced by the one that we ordered a year and a half ago. It broke down, has an electrical problem or something. So they're not able to use that. And you last yesterday or at the meeting last night, you said that you had some complaints too, right?
Oh, yeah, I'd had a personal experience where,
Yes,
you know, if you're driving around yesterday morning at
yes.
7 o'clock in the morning, you can definitely see in like every direction of the compass where the town line is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know there's challenges.
Yeah.
And I also know that we made as a board a decision to not do salt priority this year when we thought we were thinking about doing that, which I think many of the surrounding communities are doing a salt priority process where they pre-treat the roads and get in front of the storm rather than wait for the snow to accumulate and plow it off the roads. And I mean, it depends on the kind of snow too, right? If it's the wet, sticky kind, trying to remove it from an unsalted road is much more difficult than wet, sticky on a pre-treated road that slides right off because there's salt underneath. So, as we look at our budgeting process this year and we're trying to figure out what we might do next year, we might want to ask Public Works to put in a proposal to find out what sort of equipment we would need in order to do salt priority so that we don't end up in a situation where it's pretty clear to everybody who tried to leave town today or yesterday that our surrounding communities were in much better shape than Monmouth.
How many, so what does that leave us with trucks? I know we're doing a lot of the plowing with 1 tons, not the big trucks, which of course just don't have it. That's why the grader was out yesterday.
Yeah, I know the grader, once that snow pack,
Yeah,
it was like 6 inches deep
Yeah.
on some of the roads. And the trucks will not scrape it off. The only thing that will scrape it off is the grader.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
and luckily it was warm yesterday.
yeah,
Yeah, so they could use some salt to dissolve it and
And
get it to move.
to move.
Yeah, we would have been in serious trouble if we got below 20.
If it had stayed cold. then
Yeah,
warm
yeah.
Yesterday. So we have what, two 1 tons? Is that what we have? 2 1 tons and 1 big truck? I saw the big truck tonight, or do we have 1 ton? What do we have for trucks?
We have more than one big truck. I think.
Yeah, 1 big truck and 2 little trucks.
That's what I thought, yeah.
I know that.
The little trucks, the plows are certainly lighter, so
Yeah.
they're less effective at scraping the pavement.
Yeah.
And I've heard that the one we ordered a year and a half ago is somewhere in its construction project
Build process.
process. And I also, when I've asked about the salt priority, was told there isn't room enough in our salt shed to accommodate doing that process. We need another building.
That was part of the plan that we had on the table about a year ago, this time of year, was to put before the voters a proposal for a salt shed. And included in that proposal would have been some savings because you're only using 10% more salt and not so much in terms of gravel and sand. So there would be some substantial operating savings because you don't have to mix sand and salt. You only have to use sand on gravel roads. So you only have to have the shed doesn't have to be as large because you're reducing the volume of material that you would need to store. That was all put on hold while we
For the truck.
waited for the truck and we were a little shorthanded and we had other spending priorities, but sure, I mean, pay me now or pay me later kind of situation.
I don't know what other like additional or how we have to modify what we have for Sanders to do
There's
the.
some equipment involved with, you have to have a more careful regulation of the spreading rate.
It's changing the ratio and how it spreads, it's from what I understood and
Yeah.
as a layman. So
There was a man named John Coughlin. Is that what it is?
I don't.
From DOT, I
From
think.
DOT.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
and offered a lot of help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that has been used. Any other select board reports? Next public comment? Yes.
No, sorry, it's really cold.
Tell us who you are
Thanks, Ken.
and what hat you're wearing today.
So my name is Donna Seppi. I'm the chair of the RSU2 school board. So I was here a few weeks ago, or probably longer than that, actually. It was a while back. We're talking about the start of the budget process. And we are currently underway that process. And it was also, right, were we here before the Richmond vote or after? It was after, so, okay. So, and then yesterday, all of you, as Justin said, would have received a letter in the mail about a board member's resignation, which is from Monmouth. John Hammond has resigned his position. He is 1 year, almost 1 year into a 3-year term. It's his 3rd term. He's been on the board for almost 10 years. You know, there were some things at work that changed and he had a great opportunity within his organization to actually lead it as the general manager of his engineering firm. And so it's not really anything that he could really pass up because it's been his career goal and it just came a little sooner than he anticipated. But effective immediately, he has some things that he has to do. And so he didn't feel like he could really serve the communities and the district in the same manner. That said, because of John's seniority and his history, he is really strong in the budget area. And he was chairing the budget committee this year, and it's a huge loss. And so we have a very young board. I mean, we have all our communities, but we have a very young board. A lot of our more tenured folks had left over the last year, especially during COVID. I think that was really hard on a lot of people. And so we put our heads together to really figure out how we could fill this gap and the best way to do that. And so we approached a colleague, former colleague, you all know, Jim Grindle, to see if he would be willing to be considered should the select board, because it's in your authority to appoint somebody on the short term pending the vote in June. So that would be somebody would need to put in papers and be voted in for the remainder of the 2 years of his term. You do have the authority to appoint somebody for the short term. Jim would be interested in considering that. We've talked to him. I've talked to him today, just to say, you know, is this before I even come here and drop his name? Is that something that he would consider? He was chairing the school board budget process for many years. He's really strong in this area. He knows it in and out. And we have a pretty difficult year. We have grant positions that are, the grants are going away. We have a lot of requests for some social emotional adjustment and support for our children that are coming into school and have been out, and it's very difficult. We have, of course, you know, Richmond is withdrawing, so we have adjustments in our population. So our ED 279 will look very different coming this year. So we just have a lot of adjustments and challenges that we are trying to explore, and having that solid tenured person behind us to support us would be really beneficial for the short term and benefit not only the school district, but our towns and communities. He's a well-known entity. He's been doing this a very long time, and you know, he's pretty strong in this area. So I, you know, respectfully ask that yes, while you have all power and authority to identify somebody of your choosing to serve in this capacity on the board, we would really like that person to have a really strong budgetary understanding of school budgets and how that works. And you know, Jim having served on the school board for many years, and I filled his seat 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. So we would really like you to consider offering that to him. I also know that Justin said, yes, you meet in 2 weeks, and you could do that again. We would really, really like to have that process resolved a little sooner. We have a lot of meetings, budget meetings. We had one last week. We have several coming up, and whoever is a part of that, you know, particularly if it would be, you know, if it would be Jim, we have some catching up for somebody to do, and looking at some adjustments of how we're moving forward to be a part of those conversations and work full force into that.
Can we appoint somebody tonight?
That's
Justin,
Can we?
do we have to do?
You really shouldn't take any action on anything that's not on the agenda.
That's right. So,
So
but
you
the
can,
other, the
No,
other
sorry,
thing
go
too, I wondered if we had to have them do, you know, the application like the other boards when we appoint people to other boards, if that had to happen.
it's a little bit of a gray area because it is another, it's not necessarily a board that you govern. So in statute, you have this limited authority to appoint people, but they're basically your equals. So they're not really covered under our board appointment policy, but certainly if that is the information that you want, you can request that because it is your appointment to make.
So how best do we go about doing this, since it's not an agenda item?
And is there a way that we could do it more quickly than waiting 2 weeks to our next meeting?
Absolutely. You could hold a special meeting at any time that the 5 or that 3 of you can get together. You could even do it right in you could do it right in the town hall conference room if you wanted, whatever you want to do. I just have to know so I can post it so the public can be there if they so choose.
Okay, and how much public notice do we need to give of a special select board meeting to be able to do that?
You can hold them very quickly for a special board meeting if it's something that you desire. There isn't necessarily a law that governs that. It's just whatever you think is, you can sort of govern that on your own. If you wanted to do it, it'd be tough to kind of probably do it tomorrow, but we could probably do it like Monday.
Also just want to be clear that we literally spoke to him at 4 o'clock today. He did have conversations yesterday. John Hammond reached out to him. They've been colleagues and friends for a long time. You know, he still has to work some things out for his job, so needs to talk to his family, you know, he's definitely willing to consider it. Should you provide that nomination, but I can't guarantee that he's gonna accept it. Hopefully he would, but I mean, I told him that I'd be full disclosure that he gave me permission to share his name, to let you know that we've had the conversation, that we really supported this. But he is still trying to work some things out on his end to make a final determination.
He would be an ideal candidate for all the,
And for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm focused on the budget just because that's really important and we really have some challenges, but he knows the whole system because he did it for so many years.
Yeah.
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 he's been,
He'd be short term too. He's not interested in running for the position. So.
So it'd be a temporary appointment that would just get you guys through.
It'd be temporary appointment
Yeah.
through the election in June, yeah. And there were some people that I know that have reached out, I mean, over the last year, saying that they were interested, you know, in being, would encourage anybody to run for it, but that, you know, I do know that, you know, there are people in the community that have expressed interest in this as well.
Well, Donna, if we were able to convene a quorum of 3 on Monday, would that give you enough time to figure out with Jim whether this is a doable thing?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
certainly that would give public ample notice to weigh in if there are other people who might be interested or want to be part of that meeting, because it's an open public meeting. And
Our
that,
board meeting is next Thursday. Is that the first Thursday of the month? What's
Yes.
The Thursday?
Second.
Yeah, so our next full board meeting is next Thursday, so it's plenty of time. We wanted just to make sure we had that opportunity to
well, it's great.
notify the public, make sure we're above board and it's transparent, but also make sure that we have somebody that, you know, can spend some time in auto.
Well, it's great to know that we have, it's great to know that we have a deep bench
We do.
of folks who've got some experience there and that there's some potential that we could draw on that in moment of need.
And full disclosure, if for whatever reason, after communicating with his, you know, looking at his scout calendar, his work schedule with his family, if for whatever reason, he doesn't feel like he can really do this even for the short term, we will need an appointment, you know, for the next few months. If they have some budgetary experience, that's great. But school budgets are really complicated when you look at the formula. It's not like, you know, it's calculating this piece and that piece, especially when we look at the valuation.
you know, people who are interested.
I know people who are interested in the election vote to be a member of the board long-term. I am not, outside of our conversation, to figure out who would be a good fit for this particular thing because of the budget. Don was chairing the budget committee, so that's how this focus became there. But I don't have anybody off the top of my head that we've discussed. And John just told me a couple nights ago, came over and told me, so we've been just trying to figure out the immediate priorities of how to make this work. It hasn't been public other than the notices he sent to you last night. I mean, it's public, people here. It's not a secret. We're not keeping it a secret, but we'll share it at the board meeting. You know, people are certainly willing to.
Or you could come up with some candidates who will run for June.
Oh, I could come up with at least a couple. I know. Yeah.
Well, before we adjourn, maybe we could figure out a time to tentatively, you know, pencil in a time on Monday to meet as a special select person meeting. And then we'd have enough time to know for sure if Jim Grandall's committed.
Yeah, he
And
told me he would know by tomorrow or Friday.
as
so-
well as any other folks who might express some interest in a short-term appointment.
Backup plan.
Yeah, and then we can go from there.
I hear Dan is free. Do you know that?
Dan?
He wants another committee.
They were looking at Dan, but yeah. No, but I mean, it's flexible rope and it's a Monmouth seat, so Monmouth is responsible for. It's easy, but. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming in tonight to let us know because we don't want to be the logjam in an efficient and thoughtful budget process for the school. And I think that's kind of what Jonathan Heyman brought to the table with his experience and perhaps what Jim Grandal might be able to bring.
Well, he's an engineer, he's got a lot of that project management sort of budgetary sort of processes. Really strong in that area.
You,
I just want to add in that I'd like to mark to Ken's word. I think it should be profoundly digested. I think they were very important what he said when he said in case there's anyone else, you want to make sure that they're aware of it. Now, as the town manager said, there's probably nobody going to beat the door down, but I think due process should be followed. And that's putting it out there in case someone come out of the woodwork and have budgetary expertise. Unlikely, but you never know. We shouldn't assume. Brenda might be the most qualified, but don't like to assume anything. So I think it's very profound what Ken had to say there. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like if we wait until Monday, we're not going to be holding anything up. So
No, not at all.
we'll figure
We
something out.
just didn't want to wait. That's all. All right, thank you.
thank you. Next, we have a public hearing. Consider adopting the new general assistance ordinance. Appendices A through F. Take any resulting action. Something we do every year.
Yes, this is just a routine housekeeping. The state sets these rates and just by ordinance, because we administer the program, they need you to adopt the rates. We don't, we typically don't issue hardly any general assistance because we have the fuel fund and that's usually what people come in for anyway. So we hardly use this program, but if we do have to use it, we need to use the new rates.
I make a motion, we adopt the new general assistance ordinance appendices A through F.
Second.
So there's a motion by Chris, a second by Ken to adopt the new general assistance ordinance appendices A through F. All those in favor? Thank you. All set. Justin?
Yes, thank you. The form is right in front of you, Doug, with a note on it.
Oh,
It says,
yeah.
please sign. If you each could sign that, that'd be great.
Okay. Thank you. Next is to consider how to dispose of the following foreclosed properties. Well, I'll just 10 Cotler Lane, Ridge Road, 236 to 240 Ridge Road. 34 Route 126. 21 Wilson Pond Road. 90 North Main Street.
So I put a memo in your packet that just kind of briefly describes these properties. These are all properties that we believe we have the supporting documents for at least one of the foreclosed years to support a sale. That means that we have the 30-day notice of the impending lien, and that was timely filed, and we have the 45-day impending notice of foreclosure, which is also timely. So these are the first ones that we were able to put together. There are more that will be coming, but these were the, we have just kind of a box, and these are the first ones that kind of came through, except with the exception of Wilson Pond Road, which was asked to be one of the first ones that you dealt with. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I tried to include as much information for your review in those packets about their assessed value, the back taxes owed, those sorts of things, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
So I know that you had mentioned that, and I had seen it too, that 34 Route 126 is currently on the market. So obviously since that person bought that property and has been renovating it, hasn't paid any taxes from what I can see. So,
Yeah, right. And from the pictures online, it looks,
yeah,
to me, not knowing the situation, it looks like whoever was working on it has either run out of money or given up on that because it's not finished inside
Yeah.
anymore.
and so if we just let that run its course on with the agent having it, then at closing, we would get
That is correct. Yeah, we'll get the money if it sells.
if it's
Correct.
How long has it been on the market?
about a week and a half, 2
Oh,
weeks, maybe, just as recent.
Okay.
So,
I did try to sell it a couple of years ago. It was on the market for a year or two.
So we haven't done this for a long time. I know we've done a bidding thing before, right, where we advertise them and then request bids.
Yes, so under the policy, you can put it out to bid any way you want. I'm suggesting in the memo that you put these out to bid, to be a silent bid. So the process would require, if you approve their sale, I will send one last notice to them explaining that their property will be put out to bid in 30 days if they don't settle their debt. Realistically, the former owner is what I'm going to call them because they no longer own their property at this point. The town does. The former owner will have until the opening of the bid to redeem. So even though I'm going to give them 30 days, or you would give them 30 days really to come in and pay, once the property goes out to bid, they can still redeem it up until the date that we open those bids. At the point that the bids are open, their right of redemption is over and it will be sold to whoever you want to sell it to. It would normally be the highest bidder, but doesn't necessarily have to be.
And Justin, we would give them a 30-day notice, and then I'm assuming there's a process after the 30-day notice where we start the bidding process, where we advertise. How does, I mean, exactly how much time from the time we make a decision tonight would someone have to redeem their property, before we were opening envelopes that had bids in them?
Probably about maybe 2.5 months, because it would be 30 days for them notice. And then I would make up advertisements and try to get those in the paper as soon as possible after that, but just having a little bit of lead time for them to publish it. Maybe another week or two. So 10 weeks, maybe.
Justin, I had a quick question. You talk about now the people that currently own these properties, you're calling them the former owner, that the town now actually is technically owning these properties. Is there any kind of liability we have? What happens if someone goes on one of these properties and gets injured or something? Does that mean the town is on the hook for liability? Does our insurance coverage cover us for these properties, or how does that work?
No, we haven't formally taken possession. So the recommendation from MMA and most municipal attorneys would say that the town should let those foreclosures happen on the book. So the foreclosures are in the registry of deeds. They happen automatically. We don't take any action to formally acquire those. So we don't then file a new deed saying we own it. We don't do anything. So right now they're just kind of, they're almost like passive foreclosures. It may not be a legal term to use, but the town has all the right and interest in that. They can't sell it. They can't really do anything to it. But if anything happened on the property, we haven't taken formal possession. So we're not responsible for what happens there. What would make us responsible is if we did anything such as lock the door, like put chains on the doors or evict the people. If we took any action to do something, then the property would formally become town property and we would have to insure ourselves and all of what you're discussing. But the legal framework allows these liens to mature without making us liable until we do something.
Okay, thank you.
Can we, and there may be some public comment here too. I'm wondering if we could go through our list of properties one by one, just so that we've got an understanding and the public has an understanding of exactly how much back taxes are owed, what the approximate value of the property is, at least the assessed value is. maybe not completely accurate, but at least gives us an idea. And then we can have a conversation that perhaps there's some public folks who want to weigh in on it as well. But we can have a conversation about each property and what the status is. Would that be all right? So Justin, can you tell us what you know about 10 Cotler Lane? This is map 41, lot 46.
Sure. So the road map says that this is Cotler Lane. The road sign down there, when I drove down to look at it, says Cutler Lane with 2 T's. I'm not sure. You all might know what's correct, but the
Cutler.
tax information says Cotler, so that's what I'm going to go with.
Okay.
This is a waterfront, looks like a year-round property from what I can tell. Looking at it on Annabessacook Lake, the assessed value is $237,000. It's currently in arrears with interest and lien costs of $19,623. And the last outstanding tax date is it's the 2019 tax year.
That was the last time that a payment was made on this property.
That's the last debt on the property. So it's the 2018 tax year would be the last time that we've received payment. You want me to just keep moving through them?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay. 236 and 240 Ridge Road. It's a 17-acre parcel with a year-round home on it. The reason that there's 2 addresses is there's a mobile home on the property that it appears to be leased to somebody. So they don't own the land underneath the mobile home. The stick-built house owns all of the property. These properties are 236 Ridge Road is the mobile home, I believe. Yes, it's the mobile home. The land, because it's leased, is assessed to it. So the total value of the leased land and the building is $127,000. The arrears goes all the way back to 2014 tax year, and they owe $23,014. That may be.
Justin, in that case, are either of those structures occupied?
Yes, both of them certainly. I'm sorry, 236 is the house, not the mobile home and the land. Yes, there are cars parked in front of the mobile home and the driveway was plowed. In front of the house, there are multiple cars and appears to be a fairly new large trailer camper in the yard. The mobile home, this is the mobile home value. It's at $20,700, and there hasn't been a payment made, or I can't say a payment. There is arrears going back to the 2016 tax year, and the total is $4,031. So these two properties combined are nearly $30,000 in arrears.
Could we go, sorry, but we skipped past whether or not 10 Cutler or Cotler Lane, is that occupied as well?
It's a good question. It's a little according to our records for another reason. That is his residence. When I looked at it, it didn't appear as though anybody had been around it because the snow, I mean, there's some footprints in the snow, but it didn't look like anybody had really been living there.
126, 34.
Yep.
We already talked about that, right?
Right, 236 and 240. Yep, we just did those. Those are kind of together.
I mean, Route 126, I'm sorry. But we
Right,
just
yep.
discussed
Route
that.
126.
Can you give us an idea of the the arrears and the valuation there?
Yeah.
Yes, on that one. The valuation is $148,300. They're in arrears going to the 2017 tax year for a total of $17,079.
And that's not occupied, that's under construction.
Right, it does not appear to be occupied or livable, to be quite honest, the way in its current state.
And I think the only note to make is in your breakdown of the foreclosed properties, it should say South Monmouth Market. Not North
Oh,
Monmouth.
yes, I'm sorry.
That's the only thing that I think has to change there, so.
Let's see here. And then 21 Wilson Pond Road. It's almost to the end. It's near the campground. It's a home. My understanding is that the occupants are deceased and they have no heirs or no heirs that are interested or that respond to any of the notices. The post office doesn't deliver to them anymore. Everything comes back as deceased. They are in arrears going back to 2015 for a total of $12,927. And the value on the property right now is $87,900. There's a camper in the dooryard and a car that looked like they've been sitting there since probably about that time. And the last one is 90 North Main Street. That's the bottle redemption place. And that's currently valued at $144,100. And the arrears go to the 2017 tax year with a total of $16,725.
Nobody actually lives there. They just run like this business out of there.
That's,
Yeah.
yes. That's correct.
There is some.
Someone's using that as a residence.
The North Monmouth School.
I don't know what it was. Was always there. The cats.
So do we want to take these singularly or as a group?
Wherever you want.
Should we do them one at a time? I think it's,
If we have no, if they're all, we want to proceed, can we do them all at once?
it's fine with me. I think it's important to note, we're looking at my back of the envelope tally is about a figure that's about 90, almost $100,000 of tax revenue that's sitting on the books and that's been outstanding. Some of it is early, 7, 8 years ago.
One of your considerations will also be what you want the minimum bids to be. I know that when Joe was here and we discussed it, he thought that there should be some consideration given to the staff time that it takes to compile these and put them out to bid and all the, and all the mailings and all that stuff that have gone in the past and the time that took, but that's certainly up to you. I would certainly at least recommend that you set the minimum bid to be the amount due at the time of the bid opening. So I'll calculate out the interest up till that date. Anybody who redeems these properties needs to redeem them in their entirety. So the former owners that are entitled to redeem, they have to come and pay up through this tax year. So they cannot, automatically get in arrears as of April. They'd have to pay through the April payment to get their property back at this point, according to the policy.
Okay. And so we would be including the staff time and any cost of mailings, research time as part of the minimum bid requirement. Is that your recommendation?
That is up to you on the additional part, like the green cards, the mailing, the certified mail, that's already built into these figures. That's under the lien cost line that you see in your packet. So I was just trying to, because Joe's not here, I just wanted to remind you that he thought that there should be something on top of that, but I'm not necessarily recommending that. I just think that's, I just wanted to make sure that you considered his suggestion when he made it.
I saw someone in the audience who wanted to speak. Maybe. she'll have
A question.
I do have a question. Interest, you're charging interest on everyone every year. $500, $600 on the one I'm looking at right here. Is, seems to me like when you'd have quite a lot of staff time to mail, do a couple of mailings.
So you're suggesting that maybe the interest that we're charging would be more than commensurate with the staff time that it's been.
My suspicion is these properties are gonna be valued at a lot more than what the tax is on them. I would think they would far exceed the, a minimum bid is gonna far exceed the tax. On it.
I think you're probably right, given the circumstances of today's real estate market.
Yeah.
But I think, we need to be. We need to plan for all contingencies
Absolutely.
and set the minimum bid to. I'm happy to go with the dollar amount that includes our documented expenses and what's allowed by statute for interest as well as outstanding taxes.
So this could all be calculated by you?
Yeah, so our tax collection system, I can put in any date I want in the future, which would be the date of the bid opening, and I can calculate out exactly what the interest will be at that day.
And all these costs that were entailed.
Yeah, those are already included, like the green, the certified mail, that's already included in the cost breakdown that's in the packet there, that cost column you see, that includes all that. The lien filing fees, the $19, right, for every year, every page, every lien notice and that we have to file, we have to spend $19 to file that in the registry. So the ones that are, 8, 9 years old, you multiply that out, those are all fees that we've paid to secure our position on the property. So certainly we're going to get that money back. And that's already calculated in there.
Is there anyone else who wants to make a comment on this? I make a motion that for the 5 properties that we have here, 10 Cutler Lane or Cutler Lane, 236, 240 Ridge Road, 34 Route 126, 21 Wilson Pond Road, and 90 North Main Street. Those 5 properties are part of my motion that they be sold through a sealed bid process and that the select board authorize that process.
I'll second that.
And is the intent that the minimum bid is the amount on the amount owed?
And that would be part of my motion is that we'll leave the discretion of the minimum bid to the town manager who will calculate the total amount owed. And includes all the costs as well as back taxes.
So I'm not gonna repeat all. It's okay. It's okay if I don't repeat that, right, Justin?
Yes, absolutely. You're the
So,
boss.
the motion by Kent, second by Chris to let you handle this. All those in favor? Thank you.
And just as an FYI, you might see in front of you, I included the tax collection timeline in case you have any residents that are asking you about the time frame. these dates don't line up exactly with our process, but they're the same. The time period between each step is the same. So if anybody's curious about, you know, how much notice they really get and how long this takes, it's right on that sheet.
Well, and I think it's also important to note for any property owner, if they're one of these five, or if there are others that are, and there will be more that are significantly in arrears, we're going to be working through a long list of these. They do have some time. They've got 45 days-ish to settle their tab with the town. So this is not a done deal until the bids are open.
I suspect we're gonna have some people come forward and pay their tax bill.
That's fine.
I've already had one that was gonna be on this memo that she found out that this was happening and she came in and paid all of it yesterday.
There you go. So, Justin, how soon can you come with another batch?
Probably in the next couple of meetings, probably.
6 pages, I think there was to start with. A lot of people, you know, came in and paid, but there's been ones historically that have just been sitting there.
You know, question, they just-
Well, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Lots of money that could be used for other things.
You know, a new plow truck.
That's right.
His fire department siren.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Justin, for
Thanks, Justin.
preparing these.
Very welcome.
I'm sure this took a lot of time in terms of legal research and making sure that our i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
Yes, and I have to give credit to Lori too. She helped me with it and she drove around town with me so I could find all these places and get my eyes on them before I put them in front of you, so I knew what I was talking about. So much thanks to her too.
Appreciate it. Well, it's encouraging to see that wheels are moving.
making progress. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's not on the agenda. Maybe it doesn't have, it's not supposed to be the bid from mechanical services for the air conditioner.
Oh, that's right. I think you printed off the first copy of the agenda. And
Oh, I'm
that's
sorry. Yes, I
the
think I
amended.
copied the one in my folder, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
on the agenda posted online. So
Yeah.
yes, you can deal with that if you want to. The recommendation is that we reject this bid. This would simply replace the condenser units that are in Cumston Hall right now. Dennis has been talking to vendors and I gave him a contact at Efficiency Maine, where we qualify because there happens to be a library in the theater, and that's one of the allowed municipal buildings for us to potentially get credits for. So he's looking at something called a VRF system, which is, I don't really know how to explain it. It's similar to a heat pump, I guess, but it works. It would allow, it would basically allow us to remove the oil burner and the oil out of Cumston Hall, and this system would be able to do the heating and cooling, and it would qualify for tax credit. So we're going to rewrite the RFP to sort of emphasize that we're looking for alternatives, maybe not specifically that, because if this comes back to be the best option, that's fine, but this was the only bid and it was about 60,000 more than what it was going to be last year when we got the initial estimate. So we think that we could benefit by going back out to bid with the kind of an emphasis on alternative solutions and see what we can get. So we'll bring this back to you once we retool it. So we're asking you to reject this bid at this time.
And in the meantime, I know that there are a number of layers of Band-Aids on the air conditioning system in Cumston, but it is working. Right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Luckily, we don't need it right now.
And yeah, we don't need it right now.
So I make a motion, we reject the bid from Mechanical Services.
I'll say.
There was a motion by Chris and a second by Kent to reject the bid by the company mechanical. All those in favor? Thank you. And next is, that was out of order. The next thing is for the budget, review public safety portion of the budget. The police, fire, animal control officer and ambulance.
So whoever you want to start with, Doug,
I'll start with.
Paul or Dan.
Start with the PD, that's first, right? I guess, Paul.
Oh, the fire department's on here first.
You don't mind if I
Go home, go right home.
really want to see my people. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess my only question was the biggest decrease in building repair and maintenance, because we had budgeted for something, a new something.
It was $8,000 for the North Station.
Oh, okay, that's right.
That's why there was a reduction.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember what the difference was there, and I knew.
Really, I mean, it is, I know I'm looking at an increase. It's like 13, 14%. But I've been flatline budget, you know, for the almost 4 or 5 years, other than last year, we had a slight increase. And, you know, it's just getting tougher and tougher. And as you know, with inflation and maintenance costs and especially apparatus, it's just getting more and more expensive. You know, there needs to be a larger increase in our budget. You know, in the grand scheme of things, $20,000, $21,000 is not a lot to run a fire department. But out of all the items that have increased, really, I'll just cover the three major ones. Is maintenance, vehicles. You know, we went up 4,000 in that. We're also, I'm proposing to add about $6,500 under our equipment line. And you guys need to know that with this new budget system, there's been like a combined 2 or 3 line items in our budget, so it's kind of confusing to like compare with previous years. So, you know, if there's any questions on that, I can certainly answer that. But the $6,000 to $7,000 increase is for, we'd like to outsource our hose testing, our annual hose testing that we do. There's a company that's doing it. More and more departments are going that way. It saves on manpower, potential injury. It's a long day. It's a lot of work, a lot of heavy lifting. And this outside company comes in with additional resources, equipment, and they can just knock it out much faster, more efficiently. And I don't need to round up 25 guys and girls to do it for a full day of work. But they also do ladder testing too, which we haven't been doing, that we should be doing. So that's part of that budget increase. Payroll, there's an increase in stipends. Not being greedy, but I'll share with you that our roster is going down in numbers. We're down to 42. You know, we could add 18 more firefighters to our roster, and people are not knocking on our door. And you know, we got to compensate our firefighters, especially my officers who make majority of the calls, give them a little incentive so that I can keep them and maintain them. If we can still answer calls, then I'm all about, you know, giving them a few extra dollars. So that was a lot about the stipend increase, including myself. You know, I'm over 10 years now and I'm starting to get a little burnt out. And if I get a few extra dollars to keep going a few more years, then I'll keep doing it. So.
Is the hose testing that you do down in Wales?
No,
No.
we do it down here at the Bates.
At the Bates Mill. What did you,
That was pump testing.
oh, pump testing, okay, okay. I was trying to remember which was which. spend time around Danny Niles, then you know what's who needs, where you go to do what, so.
Of course, energy costs, electricity, fuel costs, diesel fuel, it's getting more and more expensive. I think we're gonna, the electric bill, I mean, it's just crazy. This past month, I wanna say Center Station tripled. I don't know if that was a past due bill or if it's really our new delivery rate, but it went from 200 to 600. And I know we had a busy month in December, you know, we had a lot of calls, and, you know, I think we answered like 47 calls in that month. A couple of them were storm related, but, yeah. Our stations are just not getting any younger, you know, we got a water leak in our roof. Currently, our furnace is quit the bed tonight. Upkeep. Any questions on the budget? I mean, we can go line by line if you want, or
What's in the miscellaneous equipment line, Dan?
that's is that the big one?
Yeah, it's like,
Most of that's turnout gear. We've always budgeted for the past several years, $12,000 for placing turnout gear. It's a couple $1,000 a set of gear. We've been outfitting the past few years, all of our members with 2 sets of gear. So they have to wash gear, dry it, they have a second set. We're getting to that point where we're almost there. We're also this year, we're starting to look into some lighter gear that's can be used for non-interior firefighters that's less expensive and less bulky. In fact, Dan Niles is going to be one we're going to try outfitting that type of gear. If that works out well, going forward, we might try to purchase some more sets. We won't need to have a second set of full turnout gear anymore.
what's the longevity of a set of gear? I mean, guy gets equipment, new boots, helmets, jacket.
NFPA is what, two life cycles, 10 years?
They're talking about 10 years. The state says Bureau of Labor Standards tells us they're not going to enforce the 10-year rule, but they can go back on their word awful easy. I mean, you know, the longevity of the gear really is how active the person is.
Right.
If you get the guys that are inside all the time, you know, their gear is gonna wear out. You get 5, 6 good years out of it, if it gets ripped. You know, some stuff can be repaired and some stuff you can't.
It's just also the gear that there's some substantial concerns about making sure it gets laundered in a quick way so that you're minimizing the amount of exposure time that people have when they're bringing it home. It's just
The chemicals and things that are,
Yeah.
you're exposed to.
stuff they have to wash down on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But you put in a thing at the set station to wash and hang and dry. maybe.
We have an extractor that washes and breaks down a lot of what he's talking about. And then we've also got a dryer now.
But this is part of the reasoning why you need to have 2 sets for each person, because you don't want them going home with it or wearing it when it hasn't been washed.
Properly washed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been doing that since we've got laundering facility capabilities at the station. Our guys have been pretty good coming back from a call that, you know, they've got dirty gear that they throw in the wash and grab their second set and ready to answer another call. Or they would just go home, you know, and throw it in the back of the vehicle, and you get all these carcinogens, you know, spreading into their back seat. Or hanging them in their kitchen, you know, next to the wood stove that I did one time, and yeah. Mark, on that, I just noticed that line item, 17,000, that's 3 combined line items, because it covers the compressor as well as the generator. So equipment, regular maintenance for those 2
It's all in that
items is
miscellaneous
all
equipment.
combined under miscellaneous equipment. That's something the new accounting service.
Combine the lines.
They combine those 2 line items. That's broken down in the notes, just to kind
Yeah.
of give you a heads up.
I think it looks very reasonable to me. Couple things you don't want to skimp on,
They don't.
knowing that your firemen are gonna come and be okay when they leave, so.
Any other questions for Dan? Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Um. The personnel line, we got, increase of 33%. That's, starting out a new 5th officer, in October, not as of July 1st, but as of October. So it's not a full year increase that you're seeing, it's an 8-month increase instead of a 12-month increase in that line. And that's just under the year we've had this past year with Kirk out for 8 weeks with broken leg and having to try to fill all the shifts that we have open. It was just problematic. We had shifts that went unfilled. I gotta tell you, Olivia and Dana did a heck of a job stepping up and worked a bunch of overtime. And that's reflected if you look at our year-to-date overtime line, we're way over in that line right now, and that's because of that issue right there. And if we had that 5th officer, it would reduce that line. And you look at line 7016 overtime wages, I did reduce that line at 31% based on the new position, as well as the part-time staff wages dropped at 29%. It all hinges on that new position, because if we can't do the new position, then those lines will have to go back up.
what do you mean if it doesn't pass? Doesn't pass here or?
Yeah. If the position is not accepted, then,
By us?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, I'd be certainly in favor of it. You need a person, so I don't know what.
No, and it's just putting it out there, so, I understand the year we're in and the tough year that we have, and I understand that if you have to cut that position, I understand that, and that's why I put that in there. I know we're all in a tough position. Going down through, some of the other expenses. JPMA was our site that we used. They were based out of Farmingdale, Maine. We did all our, and they were certified through the academy. We did all our yearly testing through JPMA. Well, JPMA, it was bought out by a large conglomerate called Lexico, which is the Police One Police Academy. And in doing so, the costs associated with our JPMA yearly training has gone up based on the company that purchased them. They're a nationwide company, and they do this throughout the nation, but they pass the expenses on once they bought the company out. So that's why the increase in that line. Travel and mileage, you see it's down 75%, and that's because we moved the mileage, $700 down into the animal control line budget that's been there in years past. And that's because it's always been in our budget to pay mileage for animal control, and for some reason it never was. So we moved it down into that line, and Andrea is now billing us for mileage when she goes on the calls, especially when she's running to Augusta to bring your dogs and cats to the animal shelter. It's 30-mile round trip, and these people out here now with going by the standard rate of 58 cents a mile. So we're reimbursing her for that now. Heating oil, that's kind of explanatory. Going up from 1,000 to 1,750 in that line. Electricity, same thing. These are all projections. We don't know where they're gonna land. Hopefully I budgeted enough for them, but. Telephone line is increased. Primarily because we have what they call a MiFi. It's a little hockey puck in each one of the cruises that lets us connect through the internet on our laptop computers. Building repairs, that one, I brought that up to 900 to 1,000. Vehicle repairs and maintenance, I brought that up to 12,000. 10,000. My car is gonna need some repairs next year, and I've got to keep that around for another 18 months, so that's why I increased that one. Look at supplies. It's showing a 37.5% increase over the 22 budget from 1208 up to 2200, but that's one of those lines where the new accountant combined two prior budget lines into one this year, and that's why you see it looks like an increase. That one was used. See, it used to be supplies for digital cameras, digital recordings, and supplies for like fingerprinting, barrier tape. Just normal day-to-day stuff that we go through. Ammunition. That goes without saying, we're going from 800 to 1,000 just because of the cost increase in that load on ammunition. Uniforms. 63%, we're going from 3,000 up to 4,800. Outfit the new officer when he comes, if he gets accepted. That also incorporates the new vest in there, which in the new vest carriers are about $1,000. And the new vest is above and beyond, because we got one that's gonna be expiring. We had two expire this year that had to be replaced, and they're $1,000 vest.
It's 5 years.
Yeah, so every 5 years they have to be replaced. And gas and oil, let's see. Go back up to small equipment. Yeah, that one also is one of those lines that they brought two previous lines together. They brought consolidated line 602 from the old budget to equipment 247, which was radio maintenance. R&M radios, what it was. So it incorporated two lines, and that's why you see that. It's showing 34% increase just because of the incorporation of those two lines. And gas, oil, and grease, again, it's 30% increase going from 15,785 up to 20,625. Any questions on any of those?
Chief, I'm trying to understand, the cost benefit of adding the fifth full-time position versus not. And I see that the difference between the 2024 budget for full-time staff wages and the one for 2023 is about 65,000.
So 50,000. I mean, that's just me
Yeah.
doing the math, how I would look at it.
Yeah, it's like 50 grand.
Yeah.
It's, how much of that is the collective bargaining agreement wages that are, how much, there's a contractual obligation we've got built into that figure.
Correct, and what I did, let me go back to the notes here, because what I did is in figuring that new rate, the new position, it's actually $59,987.20.
Okay.
Okay, what I did is I brought that I budgeted in on the 10-year step of the union contract, which is 28.84 an hour. Reason why I did that is because I don't know who's gonna apply. So I wanted to give us the benefit of being able to offer someone who's may apply who has experience. If we end up hiring someone with no experience, they're gonna come in at $22 an hour, which is gonna 22 something an hour, which is gonna be a difference of about $8. So there is some room built into that budget to
Negotiation,
negotiate.
depending on the individual that you might find.
Correct.
And then I'm seeing a corresponding savings of $13,000 in overtime wages that you would expect, because
Yes.
you're not driving your folks crazy.
And some of those overtime expenditures, I can't reduce any more than I have because it incorporates the 13 holidays, the overtime and
Yeah.
13 holidays.
Yeah.
So,
And we're contractually obligated to,
correct.
that's fine.
There is another, if I could just chime in here, there is another angle to this that I want you to be aware that we will be discussing when we discuss the Public Works. So there is a position at Public Works that, because of the way that people were hired, and then if you remember, we had a DPW director who asked to demote himself. We had filled that position. And then instead of laying off that person, we kept it. So there is a budgeted position in Public Works, one over, which has been the historic staffing level of the department. It's currently vacant. And it was a position that was at the time split between the transfer station and the Public Works Department. So there is going to be a discussion later on about whether that position continues, whether we eliminate it, whether we move those funds to fund the police officer position. I just want you to be aware that there's another position out there that is available
conversation
depending on
about,
what
right.
your priorities are, whether it be stay in Public Works, we get rid of it, or whether we use those monies to fund this 5th police officer.
Yeah.
So that's part of the equation that we'll have to wrestle with as we move through the budget.
The other caveat to that is it will allow us to go 24/7. So we get full 24-hour coverage. And that'll reduce call out pay.
Well, the other reality is too that there are a lot of public safety agencies that are shorthanded right now and would love to hire away people. Right?
Right.
So forced overtime is one of those things that is kind of a downer when you're a police officer.
Yes, it is. Family life is much more important.
Will you actually have someone on patrol, Paul, throughout the 24 hours,
Yeah.
or so there will be someone out
Yes.
all night long? The 50, 60 mile an hour trips from Monmouth Center at midnight won't be happening. Not by me, I'm just saying. I've seen it.
Seen it. Mark, we were all teenagers at one time.
Ruining somebody's fun.
Late at night, early in the morning, I come to the intersection of Main Street and Maple Street by the post office, and inevitably I look up Main Street and there, if it's early morning, late night, there can be someone coming down through there 50.
They know when
They know,
Maybe
yeah,
more than them.
they do. They do.
Catching air over the
Over the
railroad tracks.
Yep. Well, there's a delivery truck that was zipping right along. You were actually sitting by the general store across by the railroad tracks in the snowstorm the other day. You were sitting there, and that delivery truck that went by, it's like, Paul doesn't have a radar gun in his car. He's doing between 35 and 40 in the middle of a snowstorm.
5 o'clock in the morning, it's snowing out. The beat, oh, hell, I come up Norris Hill at 5 in the morning, turn right, because I'm gonna check 202, see what the slide off. I get this truck 72 miles an hour. I couldn't even see to the end of my headlights.
Yeah.
I could see the radar's going up, this is gonna be wrong, I gotta be getting bounced back. No, 72 miles an hour, I hit the brakes and I started to slide, I said, Karma will catch up with him and leads the green. I have to go after him.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
I don't have a car. Stop people from going so fast, because that's the constant complaint. When I'm out for my walk and stop and talk to people. When we're standing there talking, we're, making sure we're, look at that. How fast do you think that guy's going?
I started sitting down on Main Street just because Kurt goes up in the school zone in the morning and people know he's up there.
Yes,
And next thing you know, they're speeding down Main Street,
Yeah.
so I'm changing it up. I'm sitting
Tag
down on
team.
Main Street while he's up in the school zone,
Yeah.
Paul, do you want to briefly, oh, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, so dispatch is 0.
Okay, so we just got the number today for the Winthrop part, and as I recall, that's gone up pretty significantly because of their costs. I think we're at about 60,000 for that part, and I'll let Paul fill you in on our new update, what's going on with our county dispatch. Can you do that, Paul?
I can, Somerset has been answering our 911 calls, our landline 911 calls, state of Maine, the RCC investor has been taking our cell phone line. Somerset has decided they can no longer handle the 911 calls going into Winthrop. Meaning not just Monmouth, we're talking Monmouth, Winthrop, Manchester, Reedfield, all the communities that Winthrop dispatches. So as of July 1st of this 2023, they're no longer gonna be supporting answering our 911 calls. So Chief Frost over in Winthrop is scrambling to try to answer that and figure out who is gonna be responsible or who's gonna answer our 911 lines. He's reached out to the state RCC and they were supposed to be having a meeting, I believe it was today, to determine whether they can handle that because they are so short-staffed. He's reached out to Androscoggin SO to see if they can handle those incoming 911 calls, and they said, we'll get back to you, we'll look at the numbers and then get back to you. It didn't sound promising, so we're right now, we're in a kind of an up in the air time as to who is going to answer our 911 calls. From landlines, like I said, the state answers the cell phone 911 calls because they're mandated to. And I'm hoping that they will ultimately handle our 911 landline calls now. Whether they can or not, we'll wait to see what's gonna happen. But that's where we're at right now. We have no answers and we know that come July 1st, Somerset is no longer answering our. Dan, do you have any other information you have knowledge of on that?
Well, I've been in touch with Chief Frost as well, getting the same feedback.
We've had trouble with the RCC in the past.
Yes, we have.
Protocol stuff,
We're just not a priority.
quality
Yeah,
control.
I mean, state agencies take priority and we go 3-4 times trying to reach out, get feedback from dispatchers. Yeah, it's just.
But that's when they were actually dispatching us out of there, trying to change from the 911 call.
True, good point. Yeah.
And not to defend them or anything, but they are like 18 position down in that dispatch center for what they're mandated to staff it. Yeah, and their dispatchers are forced overtime. I mean, they're in a tough spot, and for them to just say, yeah, we'll take them, they just can't do that because they can't handle it right now. Staffing levels where they are.
So in this document, I see dispatch services, 39-7238 is the account. It's currently at zero. That's not really a zero. That's we don't know yet.
Thought there was a
That's
$7,000.
correct.
Okay.
We have the Winthrop portion. The county portion was a little over 10,000 last year, but because we don't know where we are. So I mean, I would anticipate that line to be probably 80,000, something like that, at least.
The 23, yeah, it's 59,000 for dispatch service. You have that sheet in front of you that Brian sent over, Justin?
I do. I have it right here. I'll tell you. So in our portion for last year was 58,753. And the remainder of what that was, which was
Another 10,000 because it was 68,773
right.
for the
Yeah.
overall.
So another 10,000 was the county, but you know, I would expect that in the new budget, the Winthrop part went up. It did go up
Well, 7,000.
about 7,000, and I would expect that, you know, anywhere we end up landing is probably going to cost more, just considering what everybody's going through. If they're going to be willing to take us on, they're going to charge us for it.
But the
That's where
RCC
that's my 80,000 estimate.
only has to do, call Winthrop or whatever.
Yeah, no, Chief Paulo is correct. I was thinking back to the days when they actually dispatched us, right? If they just need to take on 911 calls, I mean, it is still another burden that they're understaffed for. But I would be fine if that's what is gonna be our new PSAP, you know, versus Somerset. I mean, somebody's gotta take us. I mean, not everybody has just cell phones, you know, our landlines gotta go somewhere.
And we're in the same boat as Winthrop.
And like 8 other towns.
A lot of other towns here.
Yeah, I can list them for you. They're all on this sheet here. So it's going to be Fayette, Manchester, Monmouth, Mount Vernon, Reedfield, Vienna, and Wayne, at least. And those are the ones that we know about, but we don't know, you know, who else they might be dumping along the way.
Right.
Okay. Okay, well, I appreciate that you've given us some options. And we'll figure it out. It's not gonna be an easy budget.
Do we need to hear from John Davinsky for anything? The ambulance?
At this point, we talked to him and he wasn't sure yet. It's too early in their process, but I believe he told us to put that 3% number in there for now. Last year, they did the big increase to try to get their stipends up to be competitive with the surrounding communities, so they wouldn't keep losing paramedics or EMTs. So he didn't expect that type of a large increase this year. So he told us to go with that for now. If you want him to come, surely let me know and I'll invite him to a meeting. He's always willing to come. I just didn't ask him to.
3% is.
Usually gives us an insight into what's going on with the service and you know, how we're doing for call volume and all that.
Sure, I can bring him to one of your meetings if you like. I can bring him to one of the, like, on your final budget meeting. If you want him to come, I can have him come.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
I don't know what other people think. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Well, I know the value of them answering the phone and coming to take you to the hospital.
First-hand experience.
Not that I remember any part of it, but I'm happy that somebody answered the phone when I called, and I don't know if I used my cell phone or my landline. I have both. I don't remember any part of it. But somebody answered the phone. Somebody came, a policeman and the ambulance, and 3%, I'm okay with that. Because I'm here to tell the tale, so. Yep, it is.
I think it's important to note that our decision to buy out the streetlights might have cost us $58,000. But it is saving us
Yeah.
$13,500 on a budget, which is a bargain.
Exactly. Yeah.
There'll be a little bit of added cost in that line. I just don't know what it is because there's some poles and things which the town has opted to put in that they didn't. And there's some new ones when we did the buyout and they did the inventory, they found some cables and poles that were our option that they haven't been billing us for. So there'll be a little number in there, but to Ken's point, there will be some significant savings. I expect it to be just a couple of grand instead of 13.
Everybody's, on to, warrant number 15 for fiscal year 22-23.
So I didn't receive it. I don't know if any of you did.
No, I hadn't yet, so.
So I'll read those off at your next meeting once we get it.
Hey, do you need us to make a motion now so that we can keep the years moving?
I
here?
don't, you can wait on your formal motion because I'll be able to, under that disbursement policy I did early when I started here. Once I get 3 signatures from you on that DocuSign, we can pay the bills and I'll list them out at the next meeting and then you can codify those electronic signatures at your next meeting and that's fine.
Okay. And, or if we're meeting on Monday to discuss the RSU thing, maybe it could be done then.
That's true as well.
Is there a time that might work for 3 of us on Monday?
I'm pretty open on Monday.
My boss will.
My boss too.
I just
okay.
need 3 of you.
I'm
So
flexible.
if 3 of you want to show up, that's okay. The other one can stay home.
There you go. Well, weather permitting.
Yeah.
So, 10 a.m. Monday morning?
The town office opens at 10 on
10.
Mondays, right? Is that a crazy
fine.
time for us to do something else?
Sure. Yep, we can do it then.
But it-
I'll get it posted tomorrow, so it's up for the weekend.
Okay.
10 o'clock on Monday.
All right. So if you know anyone who wants to, a short-term,
Do you think, Justin, we should put something, I mean, the only way to get it out there is on the town Facebook page. I mean,
or website.
or
and- and on the
website,
Website.
both the website and the Facebook page that the position is open and we're gonna fill it. I think that we should at least say something somewhere.
Sure.
I'd feel
I'll put-
better
I'll put it on
about
Okay.
it. That we put it out there.
Sure. That folks are invited to nominate themselves or nominate their, nominate
Nominate somebody, yeah, hey,
nominate someone. Yeah, you want to punish.
Yeah. All right.
A motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?